Alright, today I'm going to show you how I use my Vevor stone knife sharpening tool. This is a very similar tool to the Wasabi. Very few differences. This plate right here is solid on the Wasabi. It doesn't have the cutouts, so that's different. This wing nut right here is actually a knob, so that's different. As far as everything else, they're pretty much the same. The spring retention is the same. They have a knob up here, which is actually kind of nice because if the spring ever breaks for some reason, you can still put the stone in and tighten it, where this just relies on the pressure of the spring. But other than that, this machine is almost exactly the same as the Wasabi, except it costs half as much. So it's really up to you. I'm not saying the Wasabi is bad. It's supposed to be the best on the market. I don't know. I don't have anything to compare it to. I know this machine works really well. This thing will make knives so sharp that it'll scare you. So it's up to you whether you want to spend over $100 on a Wasabi or spend less than $50 on a Vevor. Vevor doesn't come with this tool. This is my own. It's just fits better in the grooves. Not that this doesn't fit in there, it does, but I found that these chrome ones are usually weaker. This has a Phillips screwdriver on the end for a few other adjustments, but I don't use that at all. But this comes with it. This does not. This is my own. And the manual basically tells you how to put it together and how to basically use it, which is what I'm going to do today. So I'm not going to open the manual and get into all that. Comes with 12 stones. These 8 are water stones. They need to be wet, or wet stones they call them. They need to be wet. I've had these soak and I just took them out and put them on this towel. So they're wet and ready to go. Where these do not. These are diamond plate, or not diamond plate, but diamond induced, and so they don't get water. They get a little bit of oil. And these are stone, but very smooth stone, like ceramic more than stone. This is a 6,000 grit and this is a 10,000 grit. So I mean, it's like so smooth. It looks like marble, and it's basically what it is. So anyway, I'm going to show you the basic operations here. There are a couple modifications I did, and basically just to make it easier. So what I did is I took some 3-in-1 oil and a Q-tip. Got the Q-tip covered with oil, and I just went around this ball, all the way around it. It just makes it smoother. And this rod, I pre-lubed it, so it's got a really nice, it was smooth anyway, but this just creates no friction whatsoever, so it really goes really smooth. Anyway, between that and a little bit of Loctite on like screws that I know are going to be permanent, like this screw and these 2 screws, a few other screws here and there, this one, just screws that are never going to come loose. There's 3 screws that hold the ball together. There's screws on the back side of this. I put Loctite on those because they never need to come back apart. So other than that, that's the only modifications I've done to it. Now I'm going to show you how the stones go. The number one important thing to remember, this is a sharp edge. Even when you first put it in the mount, it can hurt you. It's like, this isn't going anywhere. This is solid. It's as solid as whatever you mount it to. So if you're rambunctious and you like to reach around and do things, you really got to be careful, because you can reach up and go to do something and smack your hand on this and you're going to be out, because this isn't going to move. There's no forgiveness in this whatsoever. So if you're in a hurry and you're doing things and your hands are going like crazy and you hit that by accident, you're going to get cut. There's no safety features on this whatsoever. You could come up with your own, maybe mount something here that comes up, but you're limited, because you need this much movement everywhere. So there's not a whole lot of safety other than your own common sense. So that being said, when you put your stones in, make sure that your hands are way away from the blade. Bring this all the way back. Now what you do is you clip it into the front, pull the spring back. Here, I'll put so you can see what I'm doing. Push it up there against the front of it. Pull the spring back. When you get it lined up, you just let it go, and the spring tension holds that in. And you might have to, make sure it's square and lined up. But like I said, be careful working around the knife, because it will cut you. Now, you'll see on, especially if you go on Facebook and you see the Wasabi commercial, you'll see that they go this way. They push their stone up into the knife, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't do it. I pull down like this, and the reason why is because when you push up, you have tendencies to want to push down as you're pushing up. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to have push down force uneven, because that's going to make your blade like this. So by pulling down, I don't have any push down pressure on this at all whatsoever. I have one finger right here, another finger right here like this, and all I do is just pull it lightly like this and let the stone do the work. I'm not pushing down at all. I'm only pulling slightly, letting the stone do the work. And all it's doing is just taking off a microscopic layer. And right here, there's where you can see where they carved out this area here. Well, there's not going to be one here, so there's an edge right there. You don't want to bang your stone, the edge of this stone, up against the edge of that, because it's just going to wear a groove into it. So put it up against it, get it up there, and then slowly pull away, and you'll have a sharp edge right up to the edge of that, right up to the edge here. And just overlap your strokes very lightly. Let the machine do the work. Overlap your strokes. Now you can count them if you want to, and it may be a good idea for when you're first starting out with one of these machines. But as time goes on, you'll know when it's time to flip and do the other side, and also when to change stones. You'll know, because as you're pulling down, you're feeling resistance. You're feeling the stone biting into the blade and carving away what needs to be carved away. So you can feel it. You'll feel when it needs to be flipped and changed more than you will know by counting. Because you can count 100 times over here and you'll have your what I call the straight line. The very edge of this should be an even line all the way down. It should be the same thickness from the very edge here to the very top of the edge, where the V, this top edge up here where the V comes, is up at the very top edge. Okay, so all that has to be the same thickness all the way down. And by looking at it, I can tell this is really freaking close. So close that I could either change stones right now or flip it. So I think I'm going to flip it. But before I do that, I want to show you how to set your angle. See how I got this pitch is in perfect relation to the pitch I need to have that sharp edge. Now how I did that, you should take a black Sharpie carefully so you don't cut your fingers. You want to do it in the center. You draw a line, black line, right on the shiny part of the blade right there. You may need to go longer, whatever. But then you put your stone on there and you pull it lightly. And then look away. Now, if where you shaved off the ink, if it's up on the upper edge, you'll know that you got this too low. And if it's at the bottom edge only, in other words, the whole thing should be shiny. But if it's at the very bottom edge, then you know you got it too high. So you adjust this up and down so that this takes off all the black and doesn't leave any left whatsoever. That means that this stone is carving away that exact thickness of the line perfectly. So that's how you set your angle. So one more time, I'll show you just so you know for sure. Get in the center. This is where it sits the flattest. Over here, there's going to be a slight angle. Over here, there's going to be a slight angle. Right here, it sits flat, perfectly flat. So this, once you get this to the angle you need, it has no choice but to be the same angle all the way down. So again, you just cover the shiny line with black. I don't know if you can see that in a camera or not, but you have to use your imagination a little bit. And then pull down very lightly. And you can see, well, you see right now that this one is taking all the black off because I've already got this one set up. And then just check it and make sure it's taking all the black off evenly. Now I know I said that I like to pull down when I sharpen. I especially like to pull down at the very beginning with the rough stones, because what's going on now is it's pulling all this metal and it's curling it under and making a burr underneath. So that's why I don't like to go up right away on the rough stones. I wait till I get up to the finer stones before I do that. All right, now once you have one side where you think it's right, lift this up, get it out of your way, and pull out, twist, and let it go back in. This is spring loaded, so when you pull out, there's going to be tension on it. It's going to want to fight you to go back in, and you just turn it and you just clip it into these little slots right there, and this side is ready to go with the same angle. So now both sides of the blade are going to be shaved exactly the same. Just overlap your strokes And when you get to the edge here, like I said, because of this shoulder right here, you don't want to screw up the side of your stones. You just put it up against it and then lightly pull down. Put it up against it, lightly pull down. Just like that. You can see the way I'm holding it that I'm not pushing down at all whatsoever. Now this end of the knife, because it's a machete, and it gets whipped into tree branches and whatever else, there's a lot more damage from like here to here than there will be from here to here. Because I use this for clearing trail, anything wood related. If I'm clearing trails or shaving bark or shaving tree branch to get kindling, whatever. This, all my woodworking is done with this as far as camping, and it's also my backup for personal defense. I mean, you hit anything with these saw teeth. I mean, when I clear brush, when I'm walking trails, I don't even use this. I use this part and I smack, and the branches get caught in these teeth and just rips them right out. And there's no chance in hell. So when it comes to personal defense, you don't even need a sharp blade when it comes to this. You whack somebody in the side of the arm with this right here, and it's going to be like unbelievable damage. They're not going to come at you anymore after that. But anyway, enough of that subject. That was a little over the top, but you keep working it until you feel, like I said, until you feel like the line that you see, the shine line, is exactly the same. Same thickness. It'll be the same thickness down this end as it is down that end. And you just keep working it until it is. I'm not going to go through all the stones on this video because it'd be a long, boring video watching me do exactly what I'm doing right now. Plus, I want to spend a lot more time on the front third of this because that's where all the damage is. You can see right there, there's actually a nick, excuse me, a nick in the blade where I hit a rock last year. Chopping firewood, missed and hit a rock around the fire pit, put a big old dent in it. But I've been working that down for a couple of years now, and it's actually almost gone. Now you'll see me, I'll go this way, and then when I get to the other end, I'll go this way. Now what that does, I can see the lines, the scratches from when I'm going this way. They're obviously going that way. When I'm going this way, they're obviously going that way. So I can tell by the scratches where the knife is doing this, and eventually all the scratches will be smooth one way. can tell by changing directions. There's a low spot here, low spot there, and a low spot here. So you just keep working it back and forth until all your low spots are gone. I think you get the idea. And once you get to a new stone, I like to turn it over because that way I know I've done that one. Then I'll go to the next one. Get your hands up out of the way. Put the new stone in. Make sure it's square. Make sure you don't get anywhere near that blade. That blade right now is sharper than it was when I bought it, even with just a coarse stone. And now what's going to happen is these lines are going to be even smaller and smoother. Eventually, by the time you work your way up, it'll be nothing but a shiny edge with no scratches whatsoever. And you'll know that you're done. You'll see them on the commercial where they're doing this, a full length, on YouTube or whatever. If you watch them on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, you'll see the guys that are using the Wasabi tool. They do one length all the way. That takes a little time to get used to doing. You need a little practice before you can get to that. But right now, this is so sharp, and I'm only on the second stone. Crazy sharp. Get this up out of the way. Pull hard. Turn it. Get it in place. And it locks right in. Okay, you get the idea. You got to do that with every one of these stones. Well, actually you don't. Like, if you have a knife that just needs to be touched up, and it's not all beat up, you know, there's no waves in the edge of the blade, you know, it's straight, smooth, it just needs to be sharpened. You could start from like here and go up. You don't need to go to the roughest stone, because what this does is basically starts all over, which is what this needed, because I've been abusing it. But like a pocket knife or a a multi-tool, something you don't use all the time, but you just need to put an edge on, you could go ahead and start at like the 600 and work your way up to 1500, and then go to your honer tools after, and just give it an edge. But there's only so many blades that you're going to fit in this. I mean, you're not going to be able to put a hatchet and do it with it, you know, because it won't fit in the clamp. You have to get a different tool for that. But this thing is ideal for kitchen knives. It's perfect. Most kitchen knives have a pitch at the end here, the sharpen. Their pitch is usually 17, 18, 19 to 20 degrees on a kitchen knife. It's a long taper. Rather, like on an axe, it's a 20 degree, 20 to 25 degree wedge, rather than a 17 and 18 on a, see what I'm saying? Like this one had an 18, and for a cleaver or for a machete, that's actually quite long and narrow, because that'll end up just getting beat up and chipping and warping the tip, the edge, a lot easier when you got a finer blade. If you had like an axe, you know, it comes down to a wider V. It takes a lot to chip that up. So the narrower this is at the cutting edge, the quicker it's going to get beat up. So that's why most kitchen knives have a pitch degree of around 18, where hunting knives, they're 20 and above, 20, 22, because you don't need a super fine, sharp, long angle on your blade. Maybe on a Skinner knife, if you had a long, because it makes skinning so much easier. But most of your meat process is done in your house anyway, and you're using kitchen knives to do it. But field knives, I would probably stay near, you know, a 20 degree pitch. You'll get a lot less damage. But this is ready to turn already. It's already ready to, there's no burrs. It's got a nice straight edge. It's a little wonky up here, but by the time I get through all these stones, I should have all this down You don't want to go too, you know, you don't want to spend a lot of time in one area with one stone, because all you're going to do is just have a thinner blade up here than you do down here, and that's not going to help you at all. So anyway, you get the idea, and I don't think I need to go on any further, but one of the best sharpening tools out there, whether you get a Wasabi or a Vevor, there's many out there. There's many out there just like this. I think also the Wasabi has a longer handle that you can really hang on to, which makes it even more uncontrollable. You're pushing down too hard, and you're gonna get a wavy. You're gonna get a wavy blade if you push up on it, push down as you're pushing in. It's an instinctive thing for your body to do, like a saw. When you're sawing, you instinctively push down on the saw to get a grip, and that's, your body is tuned to that. It tells itself when you're pushing, you must push down too. It's harder to control, where, like I said, if you pull, all you're really doing is just going back and forth with your arm. You're not really pushing down. Now, if you got a really rough edge and you want to push down, then yeah, you have no choice. Or you'll be sitting here forever going back and forth very lightly until eventually it would wear down. But ideally, that's really what you want to do. You want to take the metal down slowly, because if you go too aggressive, you might go past what you really need. And, you know, you don't really need to sharpen a knife too far. Once it's got a sharp edge on it, it's done. So, there it is. That's how you use it. And all I can say is, be careful. It's a very dangerous tool. Like I said, this blade is exposed the whole time. Whether you got a little blade or a large 12-inch blade like this one, it's always exposed, and you're always going to hit it. I mean, that's from not this knife, but a different knife, because I was rambunctious and I was moving and I hit my arm on it, just straight into it, and it did that. It's like I hit the edge of it or the point of the knife or not. I just right straight into it, and it cut me. So be careful, and don't be afraid to buy them, because it is definitely worth the money.